All right, so I've got my first floor layout. I have an idea of what I want the first floor to look like. I'm in my first floor structure. And so what I want to do now is I want to put the framing in for the first floor. I've taken a snapshot of the first floor and I used paint to just kind of lay out where I thought the frame, the support should be for the floor joists. So the purple lines for the most part are the floor joists in the direction that I think they're going to span. And then the red lines are steel beams that the ends of the 2x12 floor joist will rest on. Now this one is purple, but it really is a steel beam, not a floor joist. And the reason is that my span distance for a 2x12 is at 12 inches on center. The distance that they can span correctly, I think, or structurally, is about 20 feet. So I want the distance from one beam to the other, or from an outside wall to the beam, to never exceed 20 feet. And that's why I put a beam in here and I put a beam in here, and I thought this would span all the way across, but then when I measured it, it was in excess of 20 feet. So I put another beam in across here. So let's start. Remember, I'm in my structural plan now, my first floor structural plan. And let's put my steel beam, and I'll use the default steel beams that comes with it. It's a 12x26. And I want it to be centered on this wall, and I'll worry about the actual end point of it, but I know I want it to be centered on that wall. And I'll bring it down, about to right there. Now, I didn't pay any attention to the constraints of that beam, so I'm going to go to one of the views and take a look at where that steel beam actually was put, and you can see that it's in the wrong spot. So I want the top of the steel beam to rest. What's this distance here? It looks like more than 1.5 inches. Interesting. So, well, let's see. Now it's a 2x10. It should be a 2x12. Okay, so I'm going to change that to 2x12. See, there we go. And I'm going to change that to 2x12. For some reason, I put it in at 2x10. So I have some other ones in there too that I think this guy is a 2x10. It should be a 2x12. Okay. So when I put my floor joists in, I put them in at 2x10s, but I really wanted them to be 2x12s. And that's why when I was looking at this distance, because these will rest on top of a, let's go over to, yeah, so, okay, look at that. That's a 2x10. So I'll make that a 2x12. And that should be a 2x12. Easy to fix, but shouldn't have had that mistake in the first place. So this is my basement wall. If I make this realistic, you might be able to see a little bit better. So, no, not really. This is my basement wall. This is my framing system. And on top of the basement wall, there'll be a 2x6 sill plate, which is not shown there. And I also want that to be on top of my the steel beam as well. I want the 2x6 sill plate to be on top of the steel beam so that the floor joists actually sit on the 2x6 that's on top of the steel beam. So that means that I want the top of this steel beam to be the top of the basement wall, which will allow me to put that 2x6 on top of it. So let's see. I'm not able to change the constraints there in terms of the level. So I'm going to say that the total length is this. I'm highlighting it, Control C and copying it. And now when I click on my steel beam, I can change the start level offset, Control V. I want it to be minus. And then I'm going to copy that again just to get the minus sign in there and paste it, Control V. And let's say okay and see what happens. All right, now the steel beam is centered on the wall, and it's in the right elevation height-wise. I'm going to change this back to hidden line. It takes less computer processing. All right, Now back to the first floor, which is the first floor structure. And I want to be able to see my steel beams. So I'm going to change my visibility graph or view range, VR. Instead of being 1 foot above the first floor, let's make it minus, it should really be more than a foot, isn't it? Well, what did we make that? Let's do that and see what happens. Okay, there's my steel beam. I just pasted in the height of the steel beam that I wanted there. So now I can see the steel beam, but I also want to be able to see the walls. So I'm going to come over here to the underlay and say, let's make the first floor the underlay. So now I can see the walls where I want my center lines to be. All right, but all right, so we know we want one over here. I've already put one in, so I can copy that. And I'm going to copy it, just to be safe, I want to copy it from the center of that steel beam over to the center of this wall. So I'll go straight across and see if it'll snap to the center. It does. All right, got my steel beam in there as well. It should be at the right height because I copied it over. And now let's see, any more? I've got one over here. For some reason, I can't see that wall, but I can see the roof. And I don't want to see the roof there. All right. So I thought we had the underlay was the first floor. Yeah. Underlay, top level. Let's see. What happens if we apply that? Oh, I'm still seeing the roof. That's too bad. Okay. I don't want to see the roof over there, so I'll turn it off with the visibility graphics. Let's see if that'll allow me to turn off my roofs over here. I don't want to see them. And there we go. Now I can see the walls again. So I'm looking for the center line of this wall right here. I have the steel beam here. I could copy it again because it's at the right height. I'm going to copy it from the center of here straight across to the center of here. Okay. Now, obviously, it's a little bit too long. Like I said, I'm not going to worry about the ends of the steel beams right now. Boom, boom, boom. I got those. And now I want one in the middle here. So I can just copy this. Well, actually, I wanted it center of this wall. So I'm going to copy it from, again, I'm going to zoom in and make sure I grab the center of that steel beam and then come over to the center of this wall right here. Straight across, center of that wall. Okay. So it's starting to look pretty good here in terms of my steel beams. While I stop to take a look, I'm going to go over to the save icon and just save it while I'm just taking a look and seeing what I have so far. Okay, I know we got this one, this one, this one, and this one. Okay, I'm good there. Well, let's put this one in. This one's going to go straight across at the stairs, which would be right here. I'm still going to copy this guy, and then I'm just going to rotate it. And the reason I do that is because that way I'm sure of the height. The height that I had set before is still going to be the height. All right, so let's see. If I align to the center line of this wall and then come over and pick the center line of the steel beam, it should be good there. All right. And I want that guy to go all the way across. So I could pay attention right now to the way the steel beams are. Whoops, I don't want to change that. I want to grab this arrow and drag it across. Whoops, that I definitely don't want to do. I want it to go straight across and I want it to stop. Let's bring it back down. That's not going to let me do that. So I'll just undo and undo again. And then just drag it straight across. I don't want it to be on an angle. So I'll grab this little arrow right here. Make sure this time that I do go straight across. And I'm going to go all the way over. I have a basement wall over here. So I'm going to put it somewhere there. I'll worry about the exact location in a little bit. All right, so now I'm underneath my stairs. I didn't quite make it to the center line here of this wall or this wall, but I think we'll be okay with that. And what's left? Well, I got this guy right here, which is going to be, I'm showing it going all the way across, but this is a basement wall and this is a basement wall. So I only needed to go there. So what can I do? Well, if I grab that guy and copy him, so let's grab him from the center of here. And let's get this wall, which not sure where that is, so just put it right here. And then I'll have to deal with that when I look at my section to see exactly where I want it to be. No, I don't want to change any elevation there. I just want to change the end of this steel beam by dragging it back across the here. And it looks like I did change the elevation of it. So yeah, let's see, maybe this Control C, Control V. Now, see, I saw a weird end here, so I knew that the steel beam, that I had actually changed the elevation of one end of the steel beam, which I didn't want to do. So I changed it back. So I really want this steel beam just to be around here. And grab this guy right here, drag him over straight to there. So that's approximately where I want that guy to be. I have to take a look at that section. Might as well do it now. Let's go to this section and take a look at that steel beam. Can't see it because I'm not in fine resolution. I hope that's the reason I can't see that steel beam, and that is not the reason I can't see it. Where's this one? I have one on an angle, which I don't want it to be. So I'm going to Control V and just paste that. And that's supposed to be a lot of mess here. But easy to fix, but really not really a good excuse for that to begin with. I should have been more careful with what I was putting in there. Anyway, I got this steel beam. This is the one I was concerned about, the one that's over here. And look where it is. It's way up there. Oh man. All right. So Control V, and let's see what happens there. All right. So now it's in the right spot, but I want to make sure that it's centered on this wall. So I'm going to see the center line of that and the center line of that. Okay. So now they're lined up. Okay. Back to the first floor. What have I got? This guy's still too long, but like I said, I wasn't going to worry about that. I got this guy across here. I got this guy across here. It looks like I got to get this guy right here. So I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'll go to this section, and I know I should be able to see that steel beam. Well, there it is. I don't know what's going on with all of this, but fortunately, Control V, I have that. Look at this one too. For some reason, this is really a bad demonstration in terms of, doing a good job of laying everything out, but it's a good demonstration on how to fix your errors really simply. But what I did here was I pasted in this elevation. So I knew that both ends of those steel beams should be at that elevation. So I just clicked on it and then pasted because I have that on my clipboard, that elevation right there. But what I wanted to do was take a look at the steel beam that's supposed to be right there. And back to the first floor. I wanted to look at this beam and look at the height there. Yeah, look at the height of that steel beam right there. Control V. Okay, back to that section now. And we see that steel beam. Look at where it is. It's way up here. So I'll select it. And then Control V, I'm pasting the one end of it was at the right elevation and one end of it was not. So now I have the steel beam correctly located. I'm trying to see if it's correctly located underneath this wall, but I can't. I have two walls here. So I don't know what's going on. I'm going to go back to the first floor. And I wanted to take a look at, let's take a look at this section right here. And I'm going to change my depth of field so that I can only see from this cut line over to this dashed line. See if that helps me clarify what I'm looking at back here in my section now. Section is not in fine resolution. Now it is, okay. But I can't see, I don't have a wall here to be lined up with. So let's go back and see. I wanted to see this wall right here. So I guess I will have to go back to this section. And again, I'm going to pull this guy back. So I'm only seeing the depth of view is only going to be to this dashed line right here. Right click on top of that and just say go to view. And now I can see this is the wall I'm cutting through. And this is I want this guy to be I believe I want it to be centered on this wall, but I want to go back and take a look and see if there's some reason. Nope, I want it to be set. That's right. Remember I said this was not going to be perfectly lined up here. All right, this one can be, so I will, let's see. All right, I'm going to copy this guy. Again, I'm going to copy him from the center. So I zoom in real close to make sure I pick the center of that steel beam. And then I want to be the center of this wall right here. Okay, so I can just click right there. And you can see that it copied it sideways, which is all right because okay, I want this to go all the way across. So I'll just grab this guy on the arrow. Oops. And grab the arrow here and just drag him across. I want him to go farther. I want him to go to the basement wall, which I know is there somewhere. Not worrying about the ends right now. So, all right, then I can just grab this guy. Whoops, I don't want to change the elevation. I'm going to grab this arrow and just drag it back. And what does it say? Gave an error message. Didn't get a chance to read it. Okay, all right. We'll fix it if we have to. All right, that looks good. Let's click on this guy and just see what the properties are here. All right, I don't know. I think that might be all right. We can take a look at it in this section right here. Go to view, see if it's crooked or straight. It looks like it's going straight across. Looks like it's hitting the right level, which is this level right here. It's the top of the basement wall. And look at that, it's right at the top of the basement wall. I like that. Okay, so I'm going to save it again. Now, let's go make a 3D view and see what we have so far. So I'll go to the main 3D view. And I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to rename it to first floor framing. 1STFLFRAMING. Okay. And all I want to see is the first floor framing. So let's turn on my crop region. Let's see, I do want to crop the view, and I do want to see the crop region. So there it is. Okay. And what I want to do is I'm going to bring this down so that I will only be able to see, right through the first floor framing. This is a little big, isn't it, in terms of the cropped region? Maybe I'll clean this up a bit too. And I'm going to go in, and I don't want to see the floor, so I want to make sure that my cut plane, my crop region, is just slightly below the floor, the plywood floor. Okay, so now when I look at this in 3D view, and let's make this guy bigger, and this guy bigger. It did not do what I wanted. So back over here again. All right, we're going to go back and crop the view again. Oh, I don't want to crop the view. So I'm really making a terrible video here. What I want to do is the section box is what I want to see. Okay. And the section box is the guy that I want to bring down, not the crop region. I want to bring down my section box so that I can just see a little bit below the plywood floor, because I don't want to see the plywood floor. Okay, that looks good to me. Now let's go back to 3D. There we go. That's all I wanted to see was my first floor. All right, so let's go back. Bring my section box again. I'm going to bring it down. I think I brought it down a little bit too much there. And I just want to go right just a little bit below the plywood. All right, so long time to get there, but I think we're in good shape. All right, do we need to see the concrete floor? Nope. So I'm going to hide the element. Don't need to see it. Okay, so now what have I got? We can see in 3D, I have my bond area, my rim joist that I put in before. I have my steel that I wanted in there before, and I'm going to close all the other windows so that I just have this one right now. And then I'm going to go back and open up the first floor framing on the structural plan and then type WT. So I can see both. As I start to put in my, all right, I guess I can take a look at putting the steel beam exactly where I want it to be, or I can put my framing in. So let's put in my framing. All right, I want to see my bond area now. I want to see this. I want to see this right here in this view. So let's take the VR, which is the view range, and instead of cutting through the steel beam, let's cut through the bond. So I'll go down 6 inches below, and there's my bond. Now I can see my bond. Okay, that's the reason I want to see that is because that's a part of where I'm framing to. And I've got my bond over here, and I've got my bond over here. Okay, so I want to frame to that. If we take a look at what I'm suggesting here, I want to frame across from here to here, and then I want to frame all the way to there. Okay, so I think we can do that. So let's say structure, beam system. Let's pay attention to our beam system. The spacing is 16 inches on center. And the beam itself is not a W12. It's going to be our 2x12. Okay. So I think we're in pretty good shape right now. We'll go back in and take it. I'm going to sketch my system. So we can start with a rectangle. And I know it's the inside corner of my bond. And I know it's the inside corner of my bond until we get to here. But then I'm going to delete this guy. And let's see, if we just continue to pull him down to the bond there. And now I'm going to change to just drawing a line. I'm still tracing the inside face of the bond, which should be right there. And then down to here. Where do I want it to go? To that steel beam, which is, oh yeah, we have a steel beam underneath here. So I know I want to go to this end of the steel beam, okay, because it has to rest on that steel beam. And then what's happening? It's going to come all the way over to the end of this steel beam. I want it to be aligned with the end of that steel beam. Might be an issue here, so I'm just going to draw it straight across and then worry about coming back and cleaning up that line later, because I know I want it to be from here, that end of the steel beam, all the way up to the bond area here and then back over to here. Okay, so I got a little bit of cleanup to do right down here. Right down here. So this guy and this guy. So I'll use the trim extend, which I still call fillet from AutoCAD. And there is my framing system. Let's put it in and see what happens. Boom. Got all my steel, all my floor joists are in Of course, they're at the wrong elevation because, again, we didn't pay any attention to the heights of it. So let's take a look. Let's go over to the view. And we can see that my floor joists have to sit below the plywood. The plywood sits on top of the floor joist. So I'm going to select that framing system, which is the dashed line. When I hover over it and see that dashed line, I know I'm good. Click right there. And then I just want to drop it down 3/4 of an inch. And boom. Now it's where I want it to be. Now this, what is this? This is a 2x10. It should be a 2x12. Okay, but this doesn't look right, does it? It's not coming all the way across. So let's go back to our first floor framing and see what happened there. And this is something that I don't understand. Revit clipped this floor joist at the basement wall instead of at the rim joist, and I didn't want it to do that. So it's good every place except for the basement wall. I think it's in, well, let's see, did it go to the right spot over here on the steel beam? No, look at that, it didn't do that either. All right, so I want to go back to my section, and I want to pick that. All right, we're going to say edit the boundary. It's going to say, all right, well, let's go back to the structural first floor plan. Okay, to open that view and see where I'm telling this is the magenta line that I want my framing to go to, and yet Revit has decided to clip it at the basement wall, and I don't know why. I don't know why it does that. Sometimes it does it and sometimes it doesn't, but this time it did it, and I don't know why. I don't see any constraints here that say clip it, and I don't see anything over there that says clip it. So let's see. All right, so the problem that I had, and you probably should not have, is I was using a 2x12 that I had modified. And so it was automatically clipping. So I think that solves that problem. That I just changed it to real dimensional lumber because that's the default out of the box Revit member. And then I wanted to globally fix this. Let's see, there's a 2x10. So I'm going to say select all instances. Visible in view, and then I'll just change those to 2x12s. Okay. So now I have all my 2x10s are 2x12s. All right, so back to putting in my framing again now. Let's see, what the heck we got going on here now? What are we looking at? I'm on my first floor structural plan, and I don't want to see any of that. Gypsum wallboard, that's my ceiling. So I'm not sure why I'm seeing that. VG, so I'm going to say, don't show me the ceilings. Oh, yeah, because I've cut through this different VR. Yeah, let's see. I wanted to see the bond area, but I also want to see the, let's see, minus 13 inches. All right, so I switched to consistent colors, and I want my steel beams. They are going to go, let's put them right to the edge of the rim joist. So that means that in the basement walls, there will be a pocket, a beam pocket for my steel beams. Okay, so when they pour the walls, they'll leave a little pocket that'll allow that beam to slip into it. All right. So now let's see. So I got another beam here. Said I didn't want to be too concerned about the ends, but now I can see that. So anyway, next set. All right, well, let's take this end, and we're just doing some cleanup work here right now. All right, so that looks good. Down here, steel beams, and go to steel beams. Okay. What about here? Yeah, all right, well, that steel beam can go right up to that steel beam. That's fine. Okay, I'm ready to put my next set of floor joists in. I'm going to put them here. So first of all, I'm going to save this. And then I want to go to structure and my beam system. Let's see. I still have my 16-inch centers. I still have my 2x12 dimensional lumber. I'm going to say 2x12 real dimensional lumber, which is, I modified the standard 2x12 family. So I'm kind of stuck with using, I had to rename it. Okay, I had to rename my 2x12, but yours should be okay. All right, so what are we going to do? Let's see. Well, I really want it to, it's got to start at the rim joist, so I'll start it right here and bring it across to the edge of the beam because it has to rest on that beam, and I'm going to come down to the edge of this beam, and look what I did. Pick the right spot, so I'll just use the align tool, and then I get my boundary of my structural system. I don't want to go through the stairs, so I have a, looks like I put a rim joist, but that might be my stringer. And this guy can go all the way across to the edge of the steel beam, and I don't know, might as well just do that. And then clean it up by just saying align and then trim extend for these two. Now I heard a sound from Revit when I was down here, so I think there might be something wrong, but let's just go up and take a look. And sure enough, I can pick this line right here, and then I have to clean it up. What Revit was telling me was, hey, you didn't put a, all right. I want to move this guy over just to there. And then let's trim extend that guy. Okay, so there's two lines there, so I'll delete one of them. How does this look? Not good. So we'll make it look good. So I need, my boundary has to be an enclosed entity. It can't be any gaps there. It will confuse Revit. Revit won't know what to do. So I think we want that to be -3/4 of an inch. Let's say okay and see what happens. All right, finally it went to the right spot over there, and it's good over here. I'm happy. See, I didn't put my framing through the stairs, so that looks good. Everything looks good there. Save it. All right, now let's take this steel beam and we'll fix him while we're here. I said I want the steel beams to go to the outside of the rim joist. All right, what's happening? What's happening down here? I think I can bring my steel beams right up to there. All right. Looks good. Structure, beam system. Sketch it, and we'll draw a rectangle. Again, should come from here down to here. Okay, well, it looks like it's going to work for me. Let's say, all right. And yeah, it's not going to work. What's not going to work about it? I have two sets of framing on top of each other. These floor joists go across to here. These floor joists go across to here. And so you can maybe see a little bit better. My floor joists are on top of my floor joists. So what I want to do is grab that system and let's see if I can just move it down 1.5 inches. Yeah. Okay. So now maybe I should move it a little bit more. All right. So I'm going to go here to there. And it says it's too small on the screen. So that means that I'll go back to my original spot and then I'll grab my structural system. I'm looking to get that dashed line. I'm going to say move it. And I want to move it from here straight down to there. Now it was more than enough. Revit's happy with that. Look at that framing in there. Now, something's wrong here because that's my bond, so I can't go beyond the bond. So maybe this guy was extended too far. Maybe he needs to go back down to here. Yeah, I think that's better. Okay. Now I have to edit the boundary, and this magenta line is going to change to here. Let's see what happens if I want it to go to the face of the rim joist. So that's good. Now I have to do a little cleanup here and here. I think that's good, but this is not. All right, I think we're okay. It doesn't give me an error message. Look at that. Okay, so now what's going on here? That still doesn't look right, does it? No, it sure doesn't. But it does here. So I must be looking at the wrong one. Yes, I am. I'm looking at this one, which I haven't fixed yet. Okay, so let's fix that. Let's see if I can grab the entire structural system. I'm just hitting the tab key. There we go. And I'm going to move this one first from here to there. So now that looks good, but then I have to go back and fix this guy. So we'll go back and see if we can. I'm hitting the tab key and I'm trying to select the entire structural system. There we go. And now I'll just move it back so that it is right there. Okay, so they overlap there. And that's how I would want my floor joist to go, but I do want something doesn't look right. Let's shift this guy up a little. No, I guess it's okay. It didn't look like it was going to the end of the steel beam. Let's click on this guy and see if it is in fact. It sure looks like it is not. Look at that. I want it to go to the end of the steel beam, but it looks like here it's actually going a little farther than I want it to. But here, let's see. Let's see what's going on here. Let's try to spin this guy up a little bit. That might help. Now this is interesting. So here is this guy. Oh, yeah, because he's not sitting. This guy isn't sitting on top of that beam. All right, I'm going to edit the fan. No, I don't want to edit the family. That was a mistake. So let's close that down. No changes to the family. I do want to grab the structure and move it back. See, the boundary is a little bit off. So I'm going to edit the boundary. I see that magenta line. It really should be over here. I'll just drag it over to right there. Okay, better. Now the reason that this doesn't look right is because there's a gap of 1.5 inches between the bottom of this floor joist and the top of the steel beam. And that's why it looks like it's not lining up, but it does in fact line up, so we're good there. It's just, if I drop this down 1.5 inches, then it would line up, but it's not because there's a gap there. I haven't put my 2x6 top plate in there yet. All right, still got some more to do. This looks like a good guy to pay attention to now. I'm going to grab him and bring him back. Oh, not that far. I want him. I'm saying that the end of the steel beam should be right underneath the rim joist. And this gap is fine, really, but I'll just drag it down. I think in the constraints, I told it to have a gap between connections. All right, so it's time to put in the next framing system, which is right here. Let me spin this around so it's a little bit better oriented. Okay, so all right. You can see the steel beam. Steel beam is right here. I'm going to save it again just as practice here, and then we'll go structure, beam system. Let's check the constraints. It should default to what I had before. 1'4", which is 16 inches, 2x12, real dimensional number 2x12. That's my, I modified the family. Your family should be okay. So we're going to pick a rectangle now. I'm going to pick right here. And not too concerned about anything else. There's no stairs in the way. I want my floor joist to span from the floor joist sit right on top of that steel beam. Let's see what happens here. That looks pretty good. Oh, you know what I didn't do? Maybe is pay attention to the elevation. Yeah, okay, I didn't. All right, so now I'm going to go back to this section right here. And this guy. See these guys. Not sure what happened here. I don't know what this is here. First floor. All right. Let's go to this section and see if I can. No, I still want to go to a section that cuts through it so I can see all the, yeah, see it's too low. So I'll just click on that. That's my structural system. It's not the basement wall. But it's not letting me change that. So I'm just going to select it and delete the whole thing because I didn't pay attention to the constraints properly. Okay, so back to my beam system. Now, first floor is the work plane, -3/4 from there. Okay, I think that should be fine. Sketch, draw a rectangle. Still, first floor is my reference level. So this really should, I think it defaulted to that last time. So I'm not sure. I want this to come over just a little bit. Let's see if I can get it to align. There we go. Okay. Okay, like that. There we go. In the right spot. Got a little gap there, which I don't want. You want these guys to be, I call it sistered to each other. I think that's a pretty common name. So I've selected it and I just want to move it now so that they move it from here straight up. Because we want them to be next to each other. Okay, looks good. There we go, another one. that looks good in there. So we're putting the framing in. Much easier for us to do it than it is for the carpenters. Okay, so here's a interesting one. I'm going to frame from here over to there, that little bit right there. Okay, but that's all right. Beam system, sketch it. Let's make sure we have the right constraints here. It looks like we do. I'm going to draw a rectangle from here all the way down to here. So I got my rim joist in the right spot, but now I have to fix this. So I'm just going to draw a line from here down to here, over to here, and then let's clean this up with the trim extend, and then let's clean this guy up. So now I have my perimeter. I think it's good. Let's say okay and see what happens. It's drawing it at the right spot. And it looks like they need to be moved, doesn't it? Just a little bit. Let's see. Move that from here to here. Now, if you didn't do that on your drawing, the carpenters would not build it incorrectly. They would build it like this. So they're not going to look at it and go, oh my God, the architect said to put one inside of another. So they wouldn't do that. All right, so far so good. Look at what we got here. We got some good framing here. Might be a little off here, but I think we're all right. So now I'm going to pay attention to this steel beam, which comes across. I want it to be, now I can tell that from, let's Control V. Nope, it's not it anymore. But I want it to be on both ends, Control C, Control V. Okay, I could see that that steel beam was crooked, and I didn't want it to be. It got crooked when I dragged it across a little bit. I could see that it was crooked, so I just went back and made sure that the offsets for both ends were correct, and they are. Okay, so now I want to put my framing in. Let's do the easy one, which is here. And we'll take this steel beam and say that everything goes right to the end of the rim joist or the bond. So let's pull it back to there. Okay, that looks good. So now this framing, I don't remember which way it went. Let's take a look. This framing goes front to back. Okay, so let's make that one go front to back. That's a good exercise here because that's going to be different. Structure, beam system, sketch it. I will draw a rectangle because I think it's going to go, I'll have to modify that, but there's my corners. And then I want this guy to go back to here. Let's see if I can use the align tool to pick that. Okay. Now, right now you can see these double lines are telling me that the framing is side to side. But here in my sketch, I said make it go front to back. So what I need to do now is click on beam direction up in the ribbon and click on that magenta line right there. And so now what it's put the double lines here, which means that my framing is front to back now. Let's take a look at what we just did. All right, so that framing now is front to back. Very good. Okay, what's left? Let's see. I just want to pan over here. So this is front to back. So let's put that in there. That looks like it could be pretty easy to do. So structure, beam system, sketch. I'll use the rectangle again. I'm going to come from here all the way over to where? To right there. That looks good. I want it to be front to back. So beam direction, click on there. Now the double line's going this direction. Say okay. And look at that. I got some more framing in there now. So what's left? Just right here. I don't want to frame around this. I don't want to frame into the stairs. Did I put a bond? I got a bond. I don't have I'm not seeing it over here. Right, but I will frame for now. Structure, beam system, sketch. Let's start out with this guy. Can't go any farther than there. I'm just drawing lines now. So once I get past that, I can come back up to the whole beam all the way across, or I could move that guy back from that other framing. So here's where I don't want to go, into the stairs. So I'll come down. My framing might not be exactly like this. But for now, I'll put it in, and I'll have to come back and fix it. As I work on the stairs, I might come back and fix that. Well, let's bring this guy all the way over to here, and up to here, and over to this bond. And then here's where I said I could take this particular piece of framing and move it back over the, I probably should do that. So that should go all the way across. All right, but for now, let's see what happens if I say okay. Yeah, that's good, except guess what? It's going in the wrong direction. So that's an easy fix. Let's grab the structural system, edit the boundary, beam direction. We want to go this way and say okay. There we go. Let's spun them around the other way. So right here, this guy, I'm going to unpin and delete. And then I want to go back into this structural system. That looks okay. No, it was this one. Yeah. So we'll grab this structural system and we'll edit the boundary. I have my magenta line, and I'm going to bring that magenta. Nope. I want to bring that magenta line to the edge of the beam here. Let's have a look here. That looks good. Got some kind of error message down here. Line is too short. Okay, that's not good. Okay, I'm not sure why it's too short, but I'm going to see what I can do about moving it. Oh, I'm still in the align command, so let's just move it up to there. And then let's cheat it back down, see if it'll work. I don't know if it's going to work or not. Yeah, line is still too short. Okay, so I'll leave it right there and say okay. And then it puts my framing there, and then I will edit it again. And now it's not going to have to modify such a short distance. Line is too short. Okay, so that was not the problem. There's a problem someplace else, which might be, let's see. Yeah. Well, we got this little guy right here. I'm going to delete him and going to delete him. This is the guy that'll just go straight across. So I was thinking Revit was telling me something that wasn't true. That it wasn't telling me. I was mistaken. All right, so for now, this is pretty good. Look at my framing. I have two sets of stairs. I have one set of stairs here, and I have another set of stairs here. Now, what's going on right there? Why is my framing? Yeah, I should have another, or maybe not. Let's measure the distance right here. What is the distance from here to here? 13 inches. All right, I guess it's okay. I saw this gap here, but it's less, the span is less than 16 inches. So the plywood will just span across there quite comfortably, I think, unless the carpenters want to do it a different way. But anyway, here we go. Save this while we're looking at it. I've got my steel beams, and I've got my openings for my Now here might be an issue. What's going on right there? No, it's the same. That's yeah, I would probably want to put a bond here. But I'll leave that for when I really, if this were a real job and not a class job, as I detail my stairs, I would take care of that because I'm seeing a little bit of a gap right here. What I would want to do is, why not just do it? Okay, so let's see if I can grab the structural. There it is. Okay, let's edit the boundary. And let's see. I'm going to bring this guy down to the edge of here. And then I'll come across here and come down to my stringer, which might be there. I'm not sure. No, it's farther back. Okay. So I'll still just come across to there. And then I have that stringer in there. So I'm going to move my, what is it? Part of the framing for the stairs is in there. I don't need that anymore. I'll fill up these two guys or trim extend. And I think I don't need this guy anymore. Oh, I do want that guy, but I want to. Yeah, at this point, I'm going to bring that magenta line down to here. So I'll trim extend right there. Okay, good. And yeah, I think we're good. Let's see what happens. No error message. And it didn't give me another piece of stud over here, or floor joist, because it's less than the spacing. So I should probably just put that in manually. So that's all right. It's not part of the framing system. So the distance from here to here, where I want my bond to be, is less than 16 inches. So it's not going to put it in with that framing system. I have to go in and put it in individually. But anyway, I like what I'm seeing here. There's my first floor framing. I'm going to stop here to show how the first floor framing worked.